At exactly 2:32 p.m., a $5 million secret exploded. Congressman Johnson slammed documents on the mahogany desk. FBI Director Patel's face drained of color. Cameras zoomed in. Silence gripped the chamber. What had Patel been hiding, and how did Johnson discover it? 3 hours earlier, Johnson's staffers had been cross-referencing financial disclosure forms with SEC filings. Their discovery would shake the FBI to its core. Elite Depot Holdings, Shine Commerce, a corporate web leading back to Shanghai and Chinese billionaire Charlie Zhao, and sitting in the middle, Kash Patel, sworn to protect America from Chinese espionage, holding $5 million in stock. The Hart Senate Building's room 216 buzzed with electric tension. Mahogany desks gleamed under harsh lights, microphones capturing every word that would ignite a political firestorm. C-SPAN cameras rolled, broadcasting live to millions of Americans about to witness an FBI director's worst nightmare. Lobbyists gripped smartphones in the gallery. FBI agents sat stone, faced in back rows. Capitol Hill reporters sensed something bigger brewing. The air conditioning hummed, but sweat beaded on foreheads despite the cool temperature. Kash Patel sat like a man walking into an ambush, his navy suit pressed, FBI pin gleaming but knuckles, white gripping his statement. Perspiration formed at his temples. His wedding ring clicked against the microphone as his hand trembled. Across from him, Johnson shuffled through folders marked "Confidential" with prosecutorial precision. His aide whispered last, minute notes. This wasn't routine oversight. This was about national security at the highest level. Behind Patel, 3 FBI advisors sat like pallbearers, their faces masks of professional concern. Deputy Director Rebecca Martinez kept checking her phone, likely fielding calls from FBI field offices nationwide. Assistant Director Chen Wei stared straight ahead, knowing that anything he said or did would be scrutinized frame by frame on social media within hours. The committee chairman, Senator Williams, gavelled the session to order at exactly 2:15 p.m. This hearing of the Senate Judiciary Committee will come to order. We're here today to conduct oversight of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. His words were routine, but the tension in his voice betrayed that he knew this would be anything but routine. Director Patel, Johnson began, his voice cutting through the room's tension. Thank you for being here today. The politeness was paper thin. A diplomatic veneer over what everyone sensed would be a brutal interrogation. I want to first discuss the significant role the FBI plays in combating national security threats posed by China and the Chinese Communist Party. Patel nodded, thinking this would be routine territory. He'd given this speech 100 times. Yes, Congressman. It is a fact that China is America's most significant national security threat, isn't that correct? I would say so, sir. Patel's voice was steady, but his eyes kept darting to Johnson's unopened folder. And you would agree that China wants to dominate the United States militarily and economically? I think that is largely their plan. Each answer felt like another step toward a trap he couldn't yet see. Johnson leaned forward, his fingers drumming against the folder. And sir, you've been FBI director for 7 months now. Correct? Yes. The word came out tighter than before. Patel's media training had taught him to keep answers short when danger loomed. During that time, have you held any stock in companies founded in China? The question landed like a punch to the gut. Every person in that room, from the C-SPAN camera operators to the stenographer, felt the atmosphere shift. This wasn't about FBI budgets or counter-terrorism strategy anymore. Patel's jaw clenched almost imperceptibly, a micro-expression that body language experts would analyze frame by frame for weeks to come. I don't believe so. The words hung in the air like a lie detector test result everyone was waiting to read. Johnson's eyes lit up with the predatory gleam of a prosecutor who had just heard the answer he needed. The trap was sprung. In the gallery, reporters stopped taking notes and started texting their newsrooms. Breaking news developing. Well, you do own stock in a company known as Elite Depot, don't you? The blood visibly drained from Patel's face. His FBI media training hadn't prepared him for this moment. In the back of the room, Deputy Director Martinez closed her eyes briefly. She knew where this was heading. FBI security personnel shifted uncomfortably in their seats, watching their director walk into a political minefield. Patel's face flickered with confusion and something else. Genuine fear. His hands gripped the edge of the witness table. Which one? Sorry. The hesitation was damning. A man who had memorized thousands of classified briefings suddenly couldn't remember his own stock portfolio. Elite Depot. You own stock. Johnson's voice rose just enough to signal to everyone in the room that this was the moment they'd been building toward. Camera operators zoomed in. Congressional staff members in the back rows stopped their whispered conversations. Even the court reporter looked up from her stenotype machine. I think that is, I'll have to get back to you. I think it is a law firm and it is a company out of Singapore. Patel was stalling, his legal background kicking in, but everyone in that room could see the panic building behind his professional facade. Well, no. Johnson opened his folder with theatrical precision, pulling out a document that made several reporters in the gallery gasp audibly. The company out of Singapore is owned by Elite Depot, which owns Shine, the company that was founded in China. Correct. The color drained from Patel's face so quickly that the C-SPAN cameras caught it in real time. His hands trembled slightly as he reached for his water glass. That company operates out of Taiwan. They changed their headquarters from China back in 2022 to Singapore for tax purposes, but it is owned by a Chinese billionaire. I think his name is Charlie Zhao. Johnson's voice carried the satisfaction of a hunter who had cornered his prey. And you own stock in the company that owns Shine, which I disclosed during my confirmation process, Patel said, his voice now defensive, strained. Yes, you certainly did. And now, Johnson paused for dramatic effect, letting the silence stretch until it became unbearable. The room held its breath. Do you still hold that stock in that Chinese company? Patel's answer came out in a rush. Pursuant to the Department of Justice who reviewed my material that was submitted during my confirmation process, I was able to hold certain stocks and they made. Do you still hold the stocks? Johnson interrupted, his voice sharp as a blade. Do you still hold on to these Chinese stocks? These stocks in this Chinese company? I disagree that it is a Chinese company, but the DOJ, when you are appointed, makes a call on what you can and can't possess. The deflection hung in the air like smoke from a gun. Johnson struck again. Now let me ask you this. Chinese companies steal trademarks. They produce counterfeit products and sell them over the internet on platforms such as Shine. They steal intellectual property. They steal data from American companies. His voice built with each accusation becoming a crescendo of indignation, and to me, it seems inconsistent with your role as FBI director that you would own stock in a company that is based in a country that is the nation's premier national security threat. The words hit like hammer blows. Patel's composure cracked visibly. It is like you are putting your own financial security over the security of the nation. I disagree with that characterization, Patel said. But his voice lacked conviction. Johnson moved in for the kill. Well, I think the American people look at it like it is a classic situation of the fox guarding the henhouse. If the FBI is charged with investigating espionage, economic espionage by companies controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, and you are the director of the FBI, you've got a conflict of interest. Sir, I would just say if there is any intimation that why are you holding on to this stock? Johnson's interruption was swift and merciless, and it is valued at up to $5 million, as of when you last reported, correct? $5 million. The number exploded across the room like a grenade. Reporters' fingers flew across keyboards. The gallery erupted in whispers that the chairman had to gavel down. Social media notifications began buzzing on phones throughout the chamber. Patel looked like a man watching his career implode in real time. I don't follow it. The department. You are still making money off of it. I don't make any money off of anything. But the damage was done. The image was seared into the American consciousness. The FBI director, charged with protecting America from Chinese influence, holding $5 million in stock tied to a Chinese-founded company. What happened next shocked even seasoned congressional watchers. Johnson, perhaps sensing victory, made a sudden, devastating pivot. Let me ask you this question. Why are you hiding pedophiles? Why are you shielding pedophiles? Why are you protecting pedophiles? The accusation landed like a lightning bolt. Patel's face flushed red with anger. His professional composure finally shattered completely. "That is maybe the most offensive thing you could say to me," Patel shot back, his voice shaking with fury. The hearing room erupted. Cameras flashed. The chairman's gavel banged repeatedly. What had started as a financial disclosure inquiry had exploded into a full-scale political warfare. "Since I took over the FBI, there has been a 33% increase," Patel began, trying to regain control. "The gentleman's time has expired," the chairman announced, but the damage was beyond repair. In the aftermath, as the hearing room slowly emptied, one thing was crystal clear. Patel's FBI directorship would never be the same. The $5 million question had become a $5 million scandal, and the American people had watched their FBI director get cornered live on television. The media explosion was instantaneous. Within 30 seconds, CNN interrupted programming. Breaking news from Capitol Hill, where FBI Director Kash Patel appears under fire for Chinese stock holdings worth $5 million. Fox News was faster. FBI Director caught with Chinese investments flashed across screens nationwide. Social media erupted immediately. Within minutes, Number Patel compromise trended on Twitter with 15,000 tweets per minute. Number Fox guarding henhouse followed. TikTok exploded with remix videos of Patel's facial expressions. Ficentum Cotton tweeted, "How can we trust an FBI director who profits from Chinese commerce while investigating Chinese espionage?" Fiase posted. Corporate conflicts of interest reach every level of government. This is why we need stricter ethics rules. In heart-building corridors, reporters chased congressional staff. "Do you have confidence in Director Patel?" Echoed through marble hallways, Republicans dodged cameras, Democrats gave careful non-answers. FBI headquarters went into crisis mode. Patel's motorcade sped through Washington, flanked by black SUVs. FBI employees watched their boss's political execution in real time. The Chinese embassy issued a terse statement within hours. The Chinese government has no involvement in American officials' personal financial decisions. The speed only fueled conspiracy theories. By 6 p.m., political operatives war, game scenarios. Would Patel resign? Would Trump fire him? The FBI Agents Association issued a defensive statement expressing full confidence in their director. Republican strategist Karl Rove appeared on Fox. "When you are fighting Chinese espionage, you can't have 5 million reasons to go easy on them." Democratic consultant James Carville was blunt on CNN. If this was a Democratic FBI director, Republicans would be calling for impeachment by midnight. Trump's reaction was telling. At 8:47 p.m., he posted on Truth Social, "Kash Patel is a patriot. The deep state and fake news are trying to destroy him because he threatens their corrupt system. I have complete confidence." The problem: Trump's complete confidence had become Washington's kiss of death. 3 previous officials with his confidence were fired within 6 months. By 11 p.m., the story had evolved beyond stock holdings. Cable news debated fundamental questions about conflicts of interest, FBI credibility in investigating China, and whether America's top law enforcement could effectively protect national security when its leader had financial ties to the nation's primary rival. Late comedy pounced. Stephen Colbert joked about the FBI director fighting Chinese espionage by investing in it. SNL writers crafted a cold open featuring a nervous director frantically selling Chinese stocks. But serious questions remained. Career FBI agents wondered whether their Chinese investigations would face scrutiny about the director's motivations. Intelligence officials questioned sharing sensitive information with an FBI director holding Chinese-connected stakes. Foreign intelligence services took note. European allies quietly discussed limiting intelligence sharing until the Patel situation resolved. Chinese operatives in Washington likely celebrated. Having their main adversary under political pressure could only benefit operations. By midnight, as Washington's power centers digested the day's events, one thing was clear. Johnson's 14 minutes of questioning had exposed a fault line that ran straight through America's national security establishment. The FBI director who was supposed to protect America from Chinese influence now faced questions about whether he could protect America from his own financial entanglements. Whether Patel would survive this political earthquake remained an open question, but one thing was certain: 14 minutes and 32 seconds had changed everything, and the American people would never look at their FBI director the same way again. The scandal, that started with a stock disclosure form, had become a national security crisis, and Washington was just beginning to grapple with the implications. In his Georgetown townhouse that night, Kash Patel stared at his phone as notification after notification flooded in. Missed calls from reporters, text messages from allies offering support, email alerts about his name, trending on every social media platform. The man who had spent his career building cases against others now found himself the target of the biggest investigation of all, the court of public opinion.